Welcome back. I'm Dr. Diana Hill. This is the Wise Effort Show, and this is a wisdom building episode. We have 3 types of episodes on this show: real plays, skill building, and wisdom building. And in wisdom building episodes, I talk with wise people. And today we have a real treat in that I'm having a conversation with the musician, Ofosu Jones-Quartey. Ofosu is a meditation teacher, author, and musician from Washington, D.C., and he has 17 years of experience in mindfulness, meditation, self-compassion practices, and sharing these with the world. He's the male voice in the Balance Meditation app, which reaches over 10 million subscribers. And he leads meditation classes and retreats nationwide, including at the Insight Meditation Community in Washington, the Insight Meditation Society, Spirit Rock, Brooklyn Zen Center, Cleveland Insight, Inward Bound Mindfulness, and more. He's an accomplished hip-hop artist, and he released the mindfulness-themed album In This Moment in 2021. He earned a nomination for the Best Rap Album at the Whammy Awards. And his unique fusion of hip-hop and meditation has garnered attention with performances at prestigious venues like the Kennedy Center. In 2023, Ofosu embarked on a music and meditation tour with the monks and nuns of Plum Village, which coincided with the release of his most recent album, Amida. In today's conversation, Ofosu and I are going to talk about his music, the meaning behind the words, as well as his journey into a more compassionate life through meditation, Buddhism, and music. I know that you're going to really enjoy this conversation with Ofosu Jones-Quartey. We're nice and close here.
Yeah. All
Up
good.
close and personal.
Sure.
But I would like, if you don't mind, for us just to sit for a minute.
That'd be great. Love
Into our
that.
bodies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to guide us in?
Okay, happy to. All right. So, however you feel like holding your body in this moment, however you feel most comfortable holding your eyes, open or closed. Just allowing ourselves to arrive in this moment. Giving our shoulders permission to drop down away from our ears. Allowing the arms to be heavy, more loose. Inviting relaxation into the palms and fingers. Allowing our belly and torso to be soft. Our backs to be upright. Our legs connected to the great earth beneath us. And taking 3 meaningful breaths in our own time, in our own way. Inviting a sense of friendliness towards ourselves and gratitude and presence. One more breath and we can come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ofosu,
Yes.
we're sweating it out here
Just a little bit, yeah.
in the jungle of Costa Rica,
It's appropriate, as we should be.
as we should be.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
So we're sweating together.
Yeah.
Chris. Thank you for guiding us in, and I hope you received some of
Definitely.
that for yourself too.
I did. It was nice. I appreciate the space to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like what you know what to do. It's nice to
Yeah.
ask, to offer what you know.
Sure. Good.
So I ran into you because your shirt caught my eye in the dining hall in the beautiful circle that is something that we see as a symbol of Plum Village or see as a symbol from Thich Nhat Hanh, but
Yeah.
also is this symbol of interconnection, of continuation.
The Zen circle, the Enso.
The Enso.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten a chance to learn from you over this week and listen to your music, and I'm so excited to talk with you. So just thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful to. This is a happy moment, as they say in Plum Village. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you.
So one of the things that I thought we could do, and we talked about this ahead of time, is talk about the arc of your story and your offering and your wisdom. This is the Wise Effort podcast, and these types of episodes are the wisdom episodes. So I only bring wise people on. So talk about the development of your wisdom, but also talk about it not only in talking to you, but hearing your music.
Yeah.
And we're going to be playing bits from your first album and from your new album.
Yay.
And it's going to be a beautiful weaving of our conversation and your music, and people are going to want more.
Awesome.
After they listen. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, gosh, our first night, you opened us up with your story, and really that first, the story of suffering.
Yeah.
And the first song that you played, you actually played for us, not just with singing bowls.
Yeah.
In this moment.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about in this moment and the story behind that, and in it, who you are.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for asking. It's such a special and seminal moment writing that song in my life and in my career. When the pandemic happened, it was like I was racing and going at such a fast pace, traveling a lot and performing a lot. And once I had an opportunity to stop, it's like all of me is like slammed into a wall almost. And I felt the weight of a lot of what I've been running from. And I also felt the real momentum that I was running with, which was in the direction of more self-harm, honestly.
Give us some lines from that song. Because the lines are the things that capture, that sort of capture it.
Sure. So in this moment, it's like two verses and they're in conversation with each other. In the first verse, there's a line that says, I don't know who I am half of the time. Let it all go. If I black out, it's fine. I'm sick of dealing with life. It's a chore. Really don't want to feel nothing no more. I do it from sundown to sundown again. Bracing myself for the come down again, hating myself in the come down again, wait for the party to come round again. I know my teacher would be disappointed. All of the training he gave me was pointless, but even though right now I feel like I'm worthless, I'm gonna just look at my mind and observe it. So the chorus goes, look at yourself in this moment, ask yourself, how do you feel? All that you know is this moment. That's the only thing that's real. So this is the way I was feeling when I finally was still enough to feel myself. And that was the chorus were the first lines that I wrote. Look at yourself in this moment. Ask yourself, how do you feel? All that you have is this moment. That's the only thing that's real. And it's a reflection from my meditation practice, from my Buddhist practice. It's like the awareness that is underneath the suffering was asking me to take a look, at what I was really feeling. Mm-hmm. And so in the second verse, it's more about that process of examination of like what is really here and what am I doing, So the first lines of the second verse is, I try to focus excitement and sit in the lotus alignment. The truth is that I want to know what's inside, and the Buddha said you'll never know till you try it. So I sit in silence and steady my breathing and try to see something I've never believed in, meaning myself. I want to know every part of my soul, how it develops and how it unfolds. So it's just in finding stillness and recognizing that, wow, I'm really suffering. It's interesting because I still had a practice throughout all of this, and it's like I was practicing as a way of hanging on for dear life. But when I had more space to practice deeply and to look deeply and to be in touch with my suffering, and then just ask myself the real questions like, well, what am I doing and where am I going? And how do I not just want to live, but how do I want to die also, you know? And all of those reflections were finding their way into this song. Yeah.
So there's some nuggets that really stand out to me in that first verse. One is, what will my teacher, will they be disappointed in me?
Yeah.
And these sort of two worlds that you've talked about of you're practicing, but then you're out partying.
Yeah.
And you're trying to grapple with these two worlds and the shame that, how I've experienced it in my life is, different. I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
But then there's lots of things that I do that I wouldn't want on a camera showing that I'm doing to my clients.
Of course.
Or my colleagues, and that feeling of being a fraud. And there's also in the song, there's this, I think what attracted me to it was this quality of, and I can in this moment, be here and hold it. Yeah. There's something about the courage to bring awareness to those spaces.
Definitely a multiplicity of support systems were helping me through this process. My practice as the foundation of it, therapy as another foundation, and then just my family, like my wife and kids being a reflection of the love that's really there. You know, like Thich Nhat Hanh has a famous calligraphy, "You have enough," you know, and just that recognition, like, you know, the love that's missing, you are surrounded by it. The love that's missing is the love you need to pour into yourself. That's just like the missing ingredient, you know. And so this wound's not going to get healed. This wound has so much peripheral support, but the healing is going to take you, you know, going within and pouring some love into yourself. Yeah.
Well, let's listen to a portion of "In This Moment," and this is on the album. The aforementioned title, "In This Moment." It's on the album, "In This Moment."
That's right.
And you can go get it on Spotify, you can get it on Apple Music,
That's
and
right.
then there's also a video you can watch, and we can talk about that. So let's listen to "In This
All
Moment."
right.
Look at yourself in this moment. Ask yourself, how do you feel? All that you know is the moment. That's the only thing that's real. Look at yourself in this moment. Ask yourself, how do you feel? All that you know is this moment. That's the only thing that's real. Look at yourself in this moment. Ask yourself, how do you feel? All that you know is this moment. It's the only thing that is real. Moments they come and these moments they go. If we come back again, it's the infinite flow. But until then, we still in the moment forever. The past is forgotten, the future is never. The present is all that we know and can measure. Joy in the pain and the pain and the pleasure. Making it better or making it worse. If it's the second, then make it reverse. Until the day that I'm laid in the hearse, I'ma just be out here making it work. I fell in love with cocaine is a flirt. Search for the feeling, escaping the hurt. Mix it with Tito's, no mix it with needles. I'm wet like a fish and I'm high like an eagle. Becoming the villain, supplying my ego. One moment a hero, the next one I'm evil. I don't know who I am half of the time. Let it all go, if I black out it's fine. I'm sick of dealing with life as a chore. Really don't wanna feel nothing no more. Do it from sundown to sundown again. Racing myself for to come down again. Hating myself and to come down again. Wait for the party to come round again. I know my teacher would be disappointed. All of the training he gave me was pointless. But even though right now I feel like I'm worthless, I'ma just look at my mind and observe it.
I am the pain that I didn't take care of.
Yeah. I am the pain that I didn't take care of that turned into all of the things that I'm scared of. So when I wrote that line, just from an artist perspective, as a writer, I was very proud of myself. I wrote that line, I was like, oh my God. Well, it's so true. You know, it's just so true of my experience. You know, the lead up lines, I am the child, I am the parent, I am illusion, I am awareness. And I am the pain that I didn't take care of that turned into all of the things that I'm scared of. And some of those pains are pains from childhood that you didn't know that you had to take care of, that turn into anxiety, that turn into trauma responses, that turn into unskillful behavior, that turn into addiction, because they happen so early in life that you didn't even have the awareness that, hey, you have to take care of this, And so when I wrote that line, I just felt so seen by myself. You talk about metacognition, it's just like, oh my God, that's right. That is what's going on with me. But as far as bars are concerned, as far as just writing, this is a banger. I'm very proud of myself. So I had these two feelings of self-recognition and appreciation of my skill set in that moment. But then I looked a little bit more and said, this is, okay, so this is kind of the story right now. But I know that this is not the end, Like Thich Nhat Hanh says, suffering is not enough. Okay, so when I am the child, I am the pain that I didn't take care of that turned into all of the things that I'm scared of. But what do I notice is none of it lasts. Same as the lightning and thunder that crash. All of the thoughts and the feelings and fears stay for a moment and then disappear. Everything in me is naturally free. All that's required is I let it be. Mm-hmm. And for me, I was like, that's not where I want the story to end. That's the truth of the story.
Well, that's Buddhism in a nutshell right there. You got impermanence, you got self-compassion, you got mindfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all in a beautiful song.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's these weavings of these very deep teachings, and you're very practiced. And at the same time, like, why put it into this music? Like, what's your intention there for the listener?
I've thought about this a lot. As an artist, I listen to and I study the words of the producer named Rick Rubin, who has a very mindfulness Zen-based approach to creativity. And a lot of what he says I resonate with. He said, you're making this art for yourself. The audience comes second. Once you create something that speaks to you and is reflective of your experience, and you like it enough to let other people hear it, then that's it. And then you just put it out, and then you see who it's for, and then who it's for will show itself. I mean, there's marketing and there's all that other type of stuff. But we were talking here at Blue Spirit. We just listened to a talk from Roshi Joan Halifax, and she's reminding us of, embodying our vow. And the vow that I wrote down was, I want to help others through my practice and my art. Others is any and everybody, So I do think that for people who are struggling in some way, are struggling in their spiritual practice, or just struggling in their lives, struggling with loving themselves, I would hope that my music could speak to them and to encourage them to recognize that they are enough, and to inspire them to be more kind to themselves, not to give up on themselves. Yeah. And that's anybody. Yeah.
We got to see some of your beautiful music videos last night, and the imagery, the artistry and the imagery of nature, and beautiful masks, and the symbols that you've created that all link to this core "You Are Enough." And for folks that want to go watch those on YouTube, you gave us a little bit of a map on this is what this, people are going to ask some of the questions that people asked last night. We're like, what's the symbols that you put on your face, and why the masks? And so tell me more about the "You Are Enough." It's almost like it's a statement, it's an offering, it's a branding, it's like a physical branding of your logo. Why that? Like, what's that for you?
Those I'm definitely not the originator of the term "You Are Enough," but a Zen koan is like a riddle that's meant to disarm the mind from its normal rational functioning. And you are enough on the surface seems like it is simple enough, but it's actually a bit of a koan. It's actually a question that or a statement that can mean something different every time. Or sometimes it's very confusing. Well, what does it mean that I'm enough? Enough for what? Some people like to argue with this. Oh, I'm more than enough. Okay, that's fine. But like, at least, but you're at least basically enough, you know? For me, you are enough is a mantra that arises out of compassion in response to what Tara Brach calls the trance of unworthiness. When we feel like before I gave my presentation yesterday, I was definitely spiraling inside, like,
I could see your vulnerability up there. It was actually, yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right thing or the
Yeah.
right place, or if I'm the right person, or if these are the right songs. And like, is this, are they, are we? And just all, and so that's when that statement, it's okay, in this moment, you are enough, can hold you, you know, and you might still feel very naked, but you're not free falling anymore. It's like, you know, and you can give yourself a laundry list of the reasons why you're enough, or just know that in your mind, in your body, what you have right now, it couldn't be any other way. You, in this moment, you are enough. And it's just a way to, in its simplest way, to ground you, or for me, it helps ground me, but also it speaks to, in the ultimate sense, the fundamental connection with myself and everything else. You know, I'm not separate from anything. I'm the part that I play is enough. Yeah.
There's I think a common fear that people have when I work with them around this concept of, if I feel that I'm enough, then therefore I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to, you know. And if you actually look at the people who felt that they were enough, people like Ty, how much they were able to do because they were not attached to it being proof that they're enough. And it became, you know, it's almost like an energy, a groundedness that allows you to even do maybe even more. Yeah. And you know, someone like you, you got a lot of plates that you are spinning, and some of these are big plates. Big interviews coming up. Yeah. Big people that you're talking to. Blue Spirit is like the, I don't know, it's like the Hollywood for, you know, teachers. But there is that quality of like, if you feel enoughness, then it's not graspy, it's not clingy. Yeah. You're not, you know, collecting, you know, these things like ornaments. So, all right, another song. Let's talk about another one.
Sure.
Amida.
Yeah. Well, Amida's the name of the album.
Amida's the album. The song is Frozen Lake.
Yeah.
In the story that you told about Frozen Lake, it broke my therapist's heart.
Yeah.
Oh. But tell us a little bit about compassion and how it shows up in this song. And
Sure.
Yeah.
So I started writing the album for that eventually became Amida. December of 2022, and one of the first song I wrote for it was a song called Koan, and then the second song I wrote was a song called Frozen Lake, and I was teaching a retreat for teenagers in Massachusetts at a beautiful retreat center called Prindle Pond, and the whole lake at the retreat center had frozen over. And my mid-Atlantic sensibility, I'd never really seen anything to that. It's this vast lake, just completely frozen, like stand on it, and I'm like freaking out. But it was just such a fascinating natural setting to me. So I'd go out and sit and it was so quiet. So I'd go out and sit at the edge of this frozen lake, and I could see the water bubbles that were encased in ice. It was it just felt like a snapshot in time, kind of how like when telescopes take pictures of the universe, the early universe. I felt that kind of way. And in those moments, I just write whatever is coming up. There wasn't not really a big plan. The first verse is just a reflection on me in that particular moment and just kind of where my practice is. So it says, I wonder why my vision makes everything look divided. Got memories of the sky as an eagle when I was flying, connected by the thread of the essence that lives inside us. I'm empty, but I'm full. I'm on fire, but I'm cool. Compassion made me a teacher. Desire made me a fool. Self-hatred makes me question what my purpose is. I recognize, accept it, investigate, and I nurture it. So that's like the rain practice. Shout out to Tara Brock and all the different creators and innovators with the rain practice. But it was just me like reflecting on my practice and the ups and downs of it. The second verse is like, how did I even get here? I remember holding my mother's hand while she's chanting the Lotus Sutra. My mom introduced me to Buddhism when I was like 6. It didn't make sense to me, but at least I was closer to her. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the chant of Nichiren Buddhism. Maintain pure devotion to the Bodhisattva path. Holding contraband as I got older, started letting go of holding mother's hand, selling drugs and using drugs and sex just to become a man. Wish I knew then what I know now. How could I understand? And so, this song was kind of like me examining my own arc in life and practice. Now, talking about the conflict that I had with my former therapist, we fundamentally disagreed on ideas about race, and it caused a rift between us. He said some really hurtful things to me, and
was he white? Was he?
Yeah. And so, he attacked the work that we had done in the past, and attacked my identity, attacked my music. It was a very painful experience, and in listening to him, in reading the laundry list of his attacks, for lack of a better word, it really like re-triggered a lot of the old suffering and a lot of the shame and a lot of the self-hatred. And I thought I wasn't experiencing that. I thought I could just like let it go. But when I sat in meditation the next day, there was a lot of pain there. And so I used the labeling method of just naming what was there. And there was physical discomfort. So there was pain, there was discomfort, sometimes unpleasant, anger, sadness. And then one layer deeper, like what am I really feeling? It's like, oh, self-loathing. And in that feeling of self-loathing, I felt like I was really sinking into it. But the practice of self-compassion, which is why I'm so passionate about it, is if we develop an inner friend, an inner comrade, or just strengthen the muscle of self-love, self-kindness, learning to talk to ourselves, support ourselves in high and low moments, which is, I really like put the pedal to the metal on the self-compassion vehicle over the past several years. And this was one of those remarkable moments where the practice of self-compassion went into auto mode and just caught me while I was falling. When I was able to name self-loathing, the lyrics from Frozen Lake just responded. And it said, wish I knew then what I know now. How could I understand? I had to reach the end of self-loathing to find where love began. Meditate in the shadows of Buddha statues and candles, watching how intrusive thoughts maneuver and then attack you. Delusion is laughing at you, confusion clapping back at you. It's precisely these illusions you're gonna have to unravel. Sit down and breathe quietly. Show love to your anxiety. And this song started reciting itself, and it went back to the beginning of the verse, and it's like, just remember your arc. Know where you came from. And you really did touch self-loathing in such a deep way. And you got to the end of it, and then you got to a place where you could love yourself again. So yeah, this might be re-triggering those old feelings, but you're not in that place anymore. And so it was one of those moments where going back, like, yeah, we write these songs for ourselves. And then hopefully they are meaningful to others as well. But this was how that meditation started versus where it landed was really a remarkable experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to listen to Frozen Lake.
All right.
I remember holding my mother's hand while she's chanting the Lotus Sutra. It didn't make sense to me, but at least I was closer to a Nam Yoho Renge Kyo. Maintain pure devotion to the Bodhisattva path. Holding contraband as I got older, started letting go of holding mother's hand. Selling drugs and using drugs and sex just to become a man. Wish I knew then what I know now. How could I understand? I had to reach the end of self-loathing to find where love began. Meditating the shadows of Buddha statues and candles, watching how intrusive thoughts maneuver and then attack you. Delusion is laughing at you, confusion clapping back at you. It's precisely these illusions you're gonna have to unravel. Sit down, breathe quietly, show love to your anxiety. Everything is changing, you can use your inner eye to see. The higher me is looking at the lower me inside of me. The more I look, the more I see that no one is inside except earth, fire, water, and wind moving together, and freedom is my true nature. I'm in this moment forever. Until I really get it, I'll do my best to remember. Compassion for me and you while I keep my mind in the present. Life is what you make it, it's never what you expected. I sat at the frozen water and looked at what it reflected.
There was something about practice in here that you said, the danger of a lot of theory without a lot of practice. Not that I've ever experienced that myself. Gosh, I related to that in terms of being a collector of ideas, or a collector of good ideas and theories and books, and and then it's all in my head and it's a big jumbled mess, and then trying to teach from that space, as opposed to the place of actually living it, being it. And if you teach it, great. If not, you don't need to.
Yeah.
But the difference between theory and practice, and I really do think in our world, there's a lot of theory that we're all consuming. We're just information overload, too much, and not a lot of practice happening.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that line that you were, it's not a line from your song, it's just something you said.
Yeah.
On my ear.
It's interesting. I saw something on Twitter where somebody was making this connection between smoking and diabetes, and, and that one is, it was a parody. He was just making up a statistic.
Right.
But wow, was I drawn in, and I really was like, oh, is that true? And he was like, I just made all this up. But you see how when I espouse this idea as if I know what I'm talking about, how easy it is for you to believe it, and how quickly ignorance can just proliferate. I think there's a parallel to that when you are speaking on ideas and concepts that might be noble, that are probably noble, but you haven't tested them out for yourself.
Right.
I think there's a word in Pali, it might be opanaiko, but I might be wrong. But the Buddha's revolutionary approach to teaching was just come and try it for yourself. Don't believe it because I said it. Put it to the test, and if it helps alleviate or address your suffering or your concerns, then keep at it. But if it's not useful for you, then just toss it, And when I first started practicing Buddhism in earnest, I was so in love with it conceptually, even though the way I was practicing was actually harming me because I was overextending myself, identifying with the monastic way, and I never felt like I was doing enough and feeling a lot of shame, experiencing unresolved issues and not knowing how to deal with them skillfully, even though my practice reality was pure hell. My practice presentation was so lofty, and it was like I was, and it sounded really nice. So I wanted to make Buddhist inspired hip hop from the outset back in 2004, like a long time ago. But that version of me had no idea what he was talking about. He knew what he was reading. That was in the reading phase. I was reading so much. And so I could communicate concepts to you that made sense to me conceptually. I could say like, shining from the Western paradise with Amitabha Buddha, I recall the sutras, and like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, what does that mean? That sounds cool. That's not the same as I had to reach the end of self-loathing to find where love began.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so in a way, I recognize is the word disingenuous? Is that the word? I recognized my sort of artistic hubris in that moment when I was making those earlier records, and I was like, that's not really who I am right now. Who I am is a lot more complicated, desire driven. I'm trying to and I want to make it. I want to be the big rap star. I want to do the big rap star things. I want a Lamborghini. I want gold chains, and I want adoration. I want to drink everything, smoke everything, snort everything. I want it. So why am I pretending that I'm shining from the Western paradise with Amitabha Buddha? So I went in the direction that I thought would mean success, meanwhile still practicing. And that's where theory unraveled and just the rubber hit the road. It's important for us to embody, well, speaking for myself, it's important for me to embody what it is I'm talking about in my art. Yeah.
Frank Ostosuke was talking about intimacy, and there's an intimacy to that because when you're embodying it, you're starting to speak more from a place that isn't. There's a little bit of a distance when you're speaking theory, right? It's like it's not what's happening in here. It's like this is this is what we all should be doing.
Yeah.
And when you're embodying it, some of the things that you're saying get really raw and real and a little bit edgy and a little bit very vulnerable and also very intimate. You talked about your experience the first night when you did your talk. You talked about your experience in meditation and what went on inside of you when you were meditating and then just the sort of nightmare experience of spending however much time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes with your own mind. And I think many people experience that, and that's why they stop. They're like, I don't like it in here. Or even 3 minutes is not even, 10 minutes is a lofty goal when you're starting, but 3 minutes, checking their phone, they feel like they're holding their breath, scared to feel their breath. It's scary in there.
It is. It can be.
It can be, yeah. And then it also can be delightful in there
for
too.
Sure.
But
it was for me. It was scary in there. Definitely. It was very unpleasant. And there's no road. Even all the manuals that can be written, in my experience, there's no roadmap for the mind or the psychophysical, emotional confluence in any particular moment. There's no roadmap for that. If I sit right now and I sit 5 minutes from right now, I'm going to have perhaps a drastically different experience. And for me, it was not pleasant at all. One of the first things I used to say when I would teach is I hate doing this. I really am not. I'm not having a good time. But I see the absolute value. It's like going to the gym.
I was going to say, it's just like starting an exercise program. It's like, or starting to learn you're running for the first time. Painful.
I am not having a good time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I see the value. And yeah, there are definitely, I still have sometimes this habitual hesitancy to practice. It's like, oh God, I don't know what this is gonna be like.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get in touch with your motivation or with your vow, and then you can minimize it. It's like, you know what, if you listen, 5 breaths is better than none, you know, and let's just see what's there. And you know, you've survived up to this point. But I might not have made it without a softer approach. You know, I know this isn't what you asked, but like
Oh, this is good.
without having a more gentle approach towards myself and towards my practice, I think I would have just abandoned it altogether, because it was becoming, and without recognizing that, like, I can't meditate my way out of something that's clearly a mental health issue. I think my meditation practice can be a place where I support myself, but not where I fix this sort of fundamental injury, you know, or just, I don't know, if chemical makeup or whatever it is.
The above.
Yeah, I need a little bit more support, you know. I want to shout out a therapist by name, Dr. Cholette Josue, who is a Haitian therapist, Black man who my wife recommended I talk to when I was having some serious challenges around depression. And he was like, you know, you teach self-compassion, but I think you need a self-compassion boot camp. You know, I think you're assuming that you're doing it, and you're not actually going as hard as you could be with being kind to yourself. And he reignited this passion that I have for sharing about self-compassion, because he was like, listen, this is it. That's all I want you to do. Yes, you can take some medication. We'll get to that. But what I want you to start doing is I want you to write kind letters to yourself. Every time, I want you to sit in meditation and recite some self-compassion affirmations. Get out of that and write yourself a kind letter every day. I want you to stick little sticky notes on your mirror to remind yourself to be kind to yourself. Listen to Louise Hay, the sweetest woman on earth, just talking about being nice to yourself. I just want you, you know, self-compassion boot camp, that's what we're gonna do. And I was like, really? He said, yeah, because you're not doing it. You fell into this hole. It's not your fault, but now you expect that you should know how to get out of it because you're a meditator, you're this and that, but you gotta go back to a very soft approach. And Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings also of loving you, when he says that your pain, your anxiety is like your baby. You can't rationalize your baby out of crying. You just have to hold it and say, I'm here, you know. So yeah, I don't know.
Beautiful.
We meandered, but
it's a good meander. We have a mutual friend, Brother Fapu.
Yeah.
And he's a deep teacher for me in self-compassion. And I actually, when I interviewed him, I asked my kids, I asked my youngest, do you have any questions for Brother Fapu? And I recorded my little son asking a question. And, you know, kids, whatever happened today is the question, right? Or I was last night. And his question was, what do you do if you're lonely at night? He was struggling with, because his brothers were in bunk beds.
Yeah.
And the older brother was like, I'm out of here. I cannot sleep with my little brother anymore. I'm like 13 or whatever. Yeah, and so he was alone in his room for the first time. In that little bunk bed, scared, where's my brother? Yeah. And Brother Fapu, I mean, it was very much transmission from Thai. And it was so compassionate the way he responded with just, go talk to that loneliness. Hello, loneliness. Hi, darling. I'm here for you, loneliness. And very simple.
Yeah.
You know, talking to your loneliness, be with your loneliness, hold your loneliness's hand.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in your little bunk bed, but you're not alone anymore.
Right.
Right? And it feels, sometimes for me, self-compassion, I was like not a doctor of self-compassion early on.
Yeah.
I actually have a book out.
Oh, congratulations.
Self-compassion.
Amazing.
Like we're And I wasn't a doctor because it did feel like kind of theory
Yeah, sure.
to me, and especially because it's gotten so swept into the research world. Sometimes when things get swept into the research world, they get almost too theoried. They get so bullet pointed, and you got to do this, and then there's 3 components of this, and then there's 5, And it was in a similar way of actually the simple practice of it changes how you feel in your body, how safe you feel in a space, how you're going to treat yourself. When you're scared, you got something to go to.
Yeah.
When you're nervous, you're on a stage. You got it. Just is. All of a sudden, it is that not feeling alone.
Really?
And it transforms. For me, it was similar. The deep self-hatred.
Yeah.
That's who I think self-compassion can really benefit.
Absolutely.
That deep self-hatred.
Yeah.
So thank you to your therapist.
Yeah. Thank you to Dr. Josue, and thank you to Ty. Thank you to my wife, and thank you to my kids. Those and to my parents also. I am fortunate to have so much support to draw from. But the key is to draw from it, It's to care about yourself enough to know where your resources are. Right. And if you can't see that, then it might as well be, the spoon in the soup is not drinking it,
Absolutely. and sometimes your resources are to tell you to get resourced from somebody else.
Right.
I was up at the dining hall earlier, and I have a really long-standing feeling of not fitting into groups, or feeling like they don't want me in the group, or I'm not good enough.
I hear you.
Blue Spirit can activate that.
For sure. I definitely have felt that way.
I'm not at the special lunch table.
Yeah, all that for
so
sure.
I was feeling not at the special lunch table.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden you're in high school or junior high. How is this coming up? But it's good. It's actually really good when that shows up. At least for me, I see it as, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
That's that familiar feeling. And for me, the feeling, I've never, my substance is food. And so I was having that feeling, and I was like, I'm just going to go up and get a little something from that. We're eating like
I know.
Greens with more greens.
The healthy, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go get one of those that little chocolate cupcake that's sitting on the counter with the 3 little things on it.
Yep.
Go get that chocolate cupcake. And then I realized, that's what I want. I'm wanting the sweetness of belonging, or someone to say, come be with me, and I'm going to that cupcake. And so I texted my friend Trudy. And I was like, because she's not here right now. And I was like, Trudy, I feel like I don't belong. And just saying that. Yeah. And her response, all of a sudden I found belonging. But that was the act of self-compassion, was actually to reach out to somebody else.
Exactly.
Sometimes we can't get ourselves there, especially if we're really in the storm of it. It's like, I don't know how to find my way out of this one. All I can think about is the cupcake.
Yep.
Text Trudy.
I called my friend Tanzanite. I called my wife, and I texted with my mom. Well, my mom knew something was up because I didn't immediately message her about how my first presentation went. Yeah. And so she because I felt great, but the next day I just had all this self-doubt and then a feeling of like, that feeling of, I don't know if I'm included here for real, and so I did, my, first line of defense was just how I was talking to myself, but it really wasn't enough. I really did find myself in that, the trance of unworthiness and like just not feeling good at all, and a kind of like deep loneliness. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I need more help. And so talked to my wife about it, and then my mom messaged me, and then it was just, I could just lie and be like, everything is fine, or I could say, well, right now I'm feeling a little achy, and then she's gonna go into mom mode and be like, well, what's that about? And up to the point where I was on stage, she was still messaging me all of this support, and it was the medicine I needed. Yeah. So it's exactly right. Like sometimes self-compassion is not just the voice inside, it's the recognition that I need to send out an SOS. Yeah.
It's the wisdom of where that SOS is, like
Yeah.
the true thing that's going to fit the need.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, I am not against you having
No, I'm not against having the cupcake either.
Yeah.
But not if it's driven.
but not if it's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then the hole's just gonna get deeper. Yeah.
Totally. So we're moving into compassion now.
Yeah.
And the last song that you played for us was, I think you have a shortened Avalo.
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 Yeah.
Avalo Kateshara.
Yeah.
And that one, I actually, when you sang that, and especially at the end, I don't know if it's on your track because you sang it live for us.
I said, yeah.
You sang the chant from Plum Village, which
Yeah.
got me to my spot. I was like, that's my spot where I feel.
Yeah.
I feel so held by the beautiful people of Plum Village.
Me too.
Let's talk about compassion, that
Sure.
song,
Yeah.
and we'll close it out with Avalo.
Yeah. So the spiritual archetype of the Bodhisattva, the enlightened being, Avalokiteshvara, also known as Kuan Yin, also known as Chenrezig, also known as Kanon, depending, or also known as Kuan Te An Bo Tat, depending on which tradition, or also just known as the Great Compassionate One, is a spiritual archetype, a spiritual energy that means so much to me. Avalokiteshvara can be, I asked Brother Phap Lin at Plum Village, like, because I come from the old school, the old Buddhist school, the Theravada school, where the many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all these different beings, they're not really included in those scriptures. So I practice in multiple traditions now. I'm in a mode of synchronizing, syncretizing, and celebrating the three schools of Buddhism. And but there's that kind of orthodox thread in my mind that it's like, what's up with the pantheon of bodhisattvas? So I asked Brother Phap Lin, like, what do you think? Do you think Avalokiteshvara was a historical person, or is it more of a spiritual archetype? And he was like, two things can be true. Wherever great compassion is, there is Avalokiteshvara. And wherever, well, yeah, that's it. That's it. Whether that person has a distinct human origin or whether it's an energy that we embody, there's no real difference. So that being said, I really began my practice in earnest because I felt that my children were coming in on the wave of Avalokiteshvara, coming in on the wave of great compassion. And I can't really tell you why. It's just a deep feeling and a knowing that both me and my wife felt. And compassion is the wish and the action to alleviate suffering in ourselves and in others. And I think that in Buddhism, wisdom and compassion are inseparable. So when you mention compassion, whether you say wisdom or not, wisdom is also there. So the whole path can be found in the development and the expression of compassion, and that is what Avalokiteshvara means to me. So that's who's on my necklace. That's it's the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, Madne Padme Om. Many people know is like a family mantra, and for me, developing compassion for myself has been a lifelong journey, and then doing it in the context of I want to develop this for myself so that I can, just in my being, give others the space and inspiration to do the same thing. And I really believe that compassion for others begins with compassion for ourselves. So when I'm feeling, we were talking earlier about the somatic, the embodied feeling of suffering. When I'm feeling stress or sadness or self-loathing or anger or confusion, I find it in my body, and then I imagine that Avalokiteshvara's hand just goes and puts its palm on that spot, and doesn't like massage it or push it or hold it, but just, Avalokiteshvara's hand is there. And that is the witnessing and the closeness that sometimes is all you need as a compassionate act, is to be seen and to be close. So I try to give myself that, and in learning how to do that for myself, it just naturally extends to how I'm able to do that for others. Yeah. And so the song Avalo is it's talking about my wife and my daughter. My wife Ayana and my daughter Sandara are both on that song. My daughter Samadhi is on Frozen Lake, just to mention. She's reciting Thich Nhat Hanh's poetry on there. But Ayana and Sandara both represent Avalokiteshvara to me. They are, all my kids are, but they all represent different aspects, and Ayana and Sandara represent that energy really strongly to me. So I'm talking about, I'm seeing Avalokiteshvara in the as an expression of femininity in this case also. So in the song, it's all of my fear and my pain, breath, breath, breath. All my regret and my shame, breath. Calling my ancestors' names, breath, breath, breath. We are both one and the same, breath. Like Siddhartha meeting Mara, like the Buddha meeting Mara, like Avalo, Kitesvara. I see the moment where the Buddha was meeting the archetypal figure of the devil, Mara, the great, deceiver. I see that moment as an act of great compassion for himself, like knowing that he was enough not to believe in all of the deceptions of the conventional injured mind or Mara, And so Avalokiteshvara is present when we recognize our own suffering and when we can call it by name and then greet it with a breath. When we recognize that this suffering is not just mine, it's also my ancestors' suffering. It doesn't just belong to me, it's a part of the human experience. Then our heart expands, and it's not this small thing. Then compassion can come in for myself. And it's not just for me, and it's for all beings for all time. So, yeah. And I wrote a little poem to my inner child at the end, and I asked Ayana and Sandara to read it and have them overlap. So it's like these sort of multiple layers of inner child work happening there. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Let's listen.
Yeah.
Keep the stars up, like the Buddha, meeting Mara, like Avalo, Kitesvara, like Siddhartha, in the garden, like Avalo, Kitesvara. All of my fear and my pain, breath, breath, breath. All my regret and my shame, breath. Calling my ancestors' names, breath, breath, breath. We are both one and the same, breath.
Oh, my beloved one, my inner child, I know that you are afraid. I know how much you hurt, how much it hurts every day. I know your wish to be free, your wish to be healed. Walk with me and I will help you find your way. I want you to know that everything is okay. The things that happened to you weren't your fault. You don't have to hurt yourself because of them. I want you to remember to be gentle to yourself, to love yourself,
to love yourself, as if you were your own precious child. Beloved one, there's nothing to be afraid of. Look around you. The entire world, the entire cosmos is who you are. The wind, the clouds, the flowers, the storms.
So every minute of this has been really precious.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah.
It's been very special.
Yeah. Special to meet you in the dining hall and connect around the Enso.
Yeah.
Amida,
Yeah.
celebrating practice and reflecting on life is how you described it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we will connect.
Absolutely.
All of you are going to get the links to all the videos and the albums, and you've gotten a taste of it today in terms of you as a human and your art, and you also have a book,
Yeah.
children's book that we got to see, which translates all of this for children.
Yeah. Love your amazing self.
Love your amazing self.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for taking this time.
Thanks. It was a very wonderful experience. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you are motivated by desire to transform yourself and to help your people, your community to transform, to bring joy and hope into their life, and then you have the best kind of volition, and that gives you infinite source of energy. You become very alive, very dynamic in your daily life.